Hello, welcome to another reading wrap up. I never filmed my May reading wrap up, so I decided to combine May and June for this video. So in May, I actually ended up reading 13 books, and June was 9. I was so close to getting 10 for June, but at the end of the month, I just couldn't do it. So I will try to go through this as quick as I can. I will do, I want this to be less than 15 minutes, so I'm just going to try to speed through them all. So going all the way back to May, the first book of the month was 9 Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty. I listened to this audiobook. I gave it 3 to 5 stars. I read a Leanne Moriarty for the first time, I think in February or March. It was What Alice Forgot, and I loved it, so I wanted to get my hands on other Leanne Moriartys. So I listened to 9 Perfect Strangers, and it was good. I liked it. It was entertaining. It kind of was drawn out. I think it could have ended a lot sooner than it did. I didn't really expect it to go the way it did. There was a twist in there for me, and I didn't see that coming. I liked that she had so many different characters, and we got to know all the characters. I didn't like how all their stories ended, that's for sure. But, overall, just it's a good, fun, contemporary read. The second book I read in May was Maybe Now. I also listened to that as an audiobook. That is the sequel to Maybe Someday. I gave it 2 out of 5. It was okay. I don't typically read the sequel. I really was intrigued by the romance in Maybe Someday. So Maybe Someday is about a guy and a girl. She moves into his apartment. He has a girlfriend. They kind of fall in love, but they feel so bad. So he breaks up with the girlfriend, and at the end they kind of get together. And then Maybe Now is a follow-up to that. Where are they now? What's the romance like? And I personally wouldn't recommend reading it unless you're really vested in the relationship, in their story, but nothing really happened, to be honest. The next book was Those Who Save Us. I read this book. I got it from the library. This is a World War II story, so it goes back and forth from the past World War II to the present in the USA. The past is the mother's point of view, the present is the daughter, and I gave it a 3 to 5. I typically like World War II stories. I find most of them good and well-rounded, and it sounds bad to say entertaining, but that's why you read to be entertained. This one was quite long. I wish it was a little bit shorter. I didn't connect at all with the mother, at all. I find all these World War II stories where the women feel like they're forced to sleep with a Nazi member really strange. I just don't really understand it. And I guess I could, and they touch on that in the book, you're a desperate German woman. If you get out of line, you're going to be shot by the Nazis. What do you do? So it's way easier for me to sit here and say, I would have never done that. I don't know what I would have done in this situation, but it's just a theme. I read another book a little while ago, this woman had to sleep with the French, her French boss was in cahoots with the Nazis, and she had to sleep with him because she was a spy. And it's did you have to sleep with him? Really? Anyway, I think it's a good book. It's kind of a classic, I would say. A lot of people have read it. It's published back in the 90s. The next book I read, I gave 1 out of 5. Oh my gosh, it's Hearts, Fingers, and Other Things to Cross. It's the follow-up to Broken Hearts and Revenge. Oh no, sorry, it's the third book in the series. So I read the first, the second, this was the third. Clearly I didn't like it. I gave it a 1 out of 5. You would have to just read the first one to know the story, but it was just so obvious and blah. The next book was An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. I listened to this as an audiobook. This book has been getting a lot of praise over the last while. That's why I picked it up, because it's been so popular. It's about an African American couple, their marriage over 10 to 20 years. You know, we hear the story of how they got together. Then he goes to jail for a crime he did not commit, and how that affects their marriage, and what is a marriage. So I just didn't like it for multiple reasons. I didn't connect with any of the characters. I didn't like the message the book sent about marriage. I think the author and I just have different views on marriage. We have different values, and I just didn't connect with her at all, and I didn't like how their marriage story went. After that, I read Goodbye, Sweet Girl, A Story of Domestic Violence and Survival by Kelly Sundberg. I also got this one from the library. I was really intrigued to read this. It's a true story about a victim of domestic abuse. Her husband was physically abusive with her, and typically with all these cases, like, mentally, like, manipulative. I gave this a 1 out of 5 because I had high expectations for this book, and I thought I was going to be going on more of a journey, more of a story with this woman. I thought she was going to explain a bit better how abuse starts a relationship and what drives a woman to stay, and she did touch on that. I just didn't connect with her, and it didn't make me feel as much emotion as I thought it was going to, and I found it was more of a memoir of her life than a story of her abuse, which that's fine, but if you're telling me this is a story of domestic violence and survival, I'm going in thinking that the majority of this book is going to be about your fight within your relationship, your abusive relationship, not, a memoir of your life. So after that was The Humans by Matt Haig. I listened to this audiobook. I gave it a 4 out of 5. This is about an alien that comes to live among the humans. He has ulterior motives, and he's just kind of learning how to be a human and how to behave. And I think that's just such a fun book idea of, like, why we do what we do and why we become who we become. And I really connected with a lot of, like, Matt Haig's ideas about, like, human nature and, getting into a routine, and why humans, like, love and we love art and all of these other things. I thought it was really, really good and thought-provoking, even though it was a fiction book. After that, I read Dress Codes for Small Towns, and I read this because I'm a huge fan of Books and Lala, the YouTube channel. Her real name is Kayla. This is one of her all-time favorite books, so I really have been looking forward to reading this. It's a YA. It's about, we have the main character. She is, discovering who she is. She has these 2 old friends. Does she love them? It's kind of a love, well, no, it is a love triangle. Who does she love? Who is she? What does she want of her future? There's really good dynamics with, like, her friend groups, her love interests, and then even her family. Like, there's a lot of her and her dad arguing, but she loves her dad, and why do they argue, and how can they have a relationship like they had before? And it was a really good book. I only gave it a 3 to 5 just because I had really high expectations, and that's just not my thing. Like, I don't really like YA. I found it a little bit boring at parts, but it was a nice story, like a nice fluffy story if you're looking for something like that. After that was The Kind Worth Killing. I listened to the audiobook. I gave it a 3 to 5. It's just an okay thriller. The premise is a husband finds out his wife is cheating on him. He meets a stranger in the airport. The stranger suggests that they kill her. And then the story goes on from there. It's way too long. Like, it could be shortened for sure. I've been saying that a lot lately. Like, in this vlog, I've said that a few times with other books, but, like, yeah. It didn't really do anything for me. I actually think I would kind of change it to a 2 out of 5, to be honest. I think I'm going to change it to a 2 out of 5. It was just really nothing special in my mind. After that, I read Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family in culture in crisis. Loved it. It's a nonfiction by J.D. Vance. I gave it a 4 to 5. I just know that, like, the way he was writing and, him sharing his opinions, I know that we, like, share certain values and share certain opinions and, like, certain outlooks on life, so I really connected with that. I think it's really interesting because I don't know a hillbilly. I don't know what about hillbilly culture, so I learned a lot about that. I love all of the connections he makes between like hillbilly culture and poverty and how to improve, but how not to lose yourself, and how he, like his, what's it called? Like his, I don't know, what's the word for when someone like, you know, does the impossible? Like, you know, he grew up in a really poor part of America and from a poor family, and everyone around him was like, you know, doing drugs and dropping out of school, but he overcame and became a lawyer and really successful. An underdog story, that's it. So it's just like a nice underdog story, but also it tackles like good social problems, and he makes suggestions on, you know, what to do to fix them. After that, I listened to The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I listened to it in one day. I gave it a 3 to 5. Again, I had high expectations for it because of Books and Lala. It's about a Puerto Rican, second generation Puerto Rican or third generation Puerto Rican teenage girl, you know, just figuring out life in high school. She discovers slam poetry, and she has a big passion for it. Catholic parents are really strict, and it's her like pushing her boundaries, and I don't know, it was fine. Okay, after that, for May, we're still in May, it was Love Letters to the Dead. This was my book of the month for book club. I gave it a 3 to 5. This book is about a girl who writes love letters to dead people. It's basically just her working through her grief about her sister who had died. You know, was anything special for me? No. I found the main character to make like really poor decisions, and she just thought really weird things and did really weird things. And I guess it's about like grief and mental health, and you need to like reach out to your entourage for support, but I wouldn't recommend it. And the last book of May is We Set the Dark on Fire. This is an audiobook. I gave it a 1 out of 5. It's a YA fantasy. I didn't like anything about it because it's so standard. Like literally nowadays, all YA fantasies have like the same plot. It's like a female heroine who's being oppressed by men and some kind of government, but the government is bad, and we need socialism to save their day, to save the world. You know, the poor, like it's like the men and the rich are really, really bad and oppressing the heroine and her family because her family's always poor, and you know, the poor are, I don't know, it's just so cliche at this point. Like there's nothing new in YA fantasy, and it just bothers me. I can't. So 1 out of 5. And the story's cool. It's about like, you know, this girl who goes to school to learn how to be like the best wife, because each man gets 2 wives in this society, and then she falls in love with the second wife, and they're working for resistance, and it's just typical. So moving on to the month of June, the first book I listened to as an audiobook was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I gave this book a 3 to 5. This was a really, you know, new YA idea for me. It's the first son, so the son of the President of the United States, and the prince, the Prince of England. They end up falling in love, but it's like, how do they keep it a secret? How do they make the relationship work when, you know, society's not gonna like that? And it was just like a really fun, light YA book, and I really liked it. I don't really give it a 3 to 5, but there was nothing in it that, you know, like that wowed me, that made me love it. It was just like a good read. After that, I read A Spark of Light by Jodi Picoult. I gave this one a 3 to 5. I've just read other Jodi Picoults I've enjoyed so much more. This one, like as with all Jodi Picoult, is a hard-hitting novel. This is about a mass shooting at an abortion clinic, and what I appreciate so much about Jodi Picoult is she takes every single point of view and puts it in there. So there's the pro-lifers, there's the pro-choicers, there's the doctors, there's, you know, every kind of character you can imagine who would have role or an opinion or a voice in abortion, she has them in there. And I think that it's just so incredible how, you know, I'm sure she has her own opinions as an author, but she can still represent everyone, which is fantastic. Oh God, after that was Lincoln and the Bardo by George Saunders. It was so hard to read. This book has like such high reviews on Goodreads, like so many people have read it, and it sounds cool. It's about like back when Lincoln was president, his son died, like, and this is like real life, like his son died, and there's this like spirit world the son's in, and then Lincoln comes to visit the son, and it's just about the relationship between Lincoln and his son, but more about this weird ghost spirit world and how they can like move on. And the way this book is written is unlike anything I've seen before. It was quite hard for me to follow. The language was difficult. If you're looking for something new and different, definitely try this. But I personally wouldn't recommend it because I thought the story was just kind of strange. Something I didn't really enjoy that much. After that, I read When All Is Said by Anne Griffin. This book is set in Ireland. It's a man who does 5 toasts in one night. One toast for someone who was very important in his life. So it's just like a really nice story about a man's entire life and, you know, how the choices he made affected his life. I gave it a 3 to 5 if I didn't say already. What are we on now? The 5th book of June was an audiobook, Truly Madly Guilty by Leanne Moriarty. I gave this a 3 to 5. So I liked this more than the other one, 9 Perfect Strangers. This is about, we have a few different characters. It's about 3 couples, they're at a barbecue, a tragedy happens, and how that tragedy affects each person and how they move on from it. I don't want to give too much away. Again, it's just a contemporary read. It's set in Australia. Overall, I thought it was good. Okay, after that was Beartown by Frederick Bachman. So this is another very popular book on Goodreads, on BookTube. I gave this a 4 to 5. I think Frederick Bachman is a good author. I DNF'd one of his other books, but what are you gonna do? The Beartown is about a small town in Sweden, a small hockey town in Sweden. This whole town revolves around hockey. Something bad happens, and we see how the town reacts. The reason this book didn't get a 5 out of 5 for me is because I just didn't I just don't connect with the feminism that Frederick Bachman is pushing. I think it's an outdated feminism, and I think that feminism is changing or should be changing. Like, if you connect with feminism in this book, that's fine. That's the feminism you support. I just think that feminism should be growing and moving with the times, and I think it's a little stuck, especially in this book. For me, in my life in Canada, this book doesn't reflect how I think people are and how I think men are, and I just don't think it reflects my reality in Canada, and I just think it's a little outdated at this point. But that's just my own beef with the book and with Frederick Bachman. But otherwise, it's a great story, very well written, great pace, good character development, and yeah, very good. So the next book for June was my book club book, which was Dark Places by Gillian Flynn, I think it's Gillian Flynn. This had 3 different perspectives. I gave it a 3 to 5. It has 3 different perspectives. We have mom, brother, daughter. I liked the brother and sister, brother, daughter parts of the book. The mom I thought was boring, like, could just be gone, be done. I didn't care for that at all. And the story is about the daughter is the only survivor in the family after the brother massacred the mother and the 2 other daughters. But as we're finding out, we're seeing the past through the mother and the brother, and then we're seeing the present through the daughter. And as we're finding out more about that day, and as she's finding out as she goes through this story, like maybe he didn't actually kill them. Maybe he was framed. So a good mystery book. It's dark. It's called Dark Places and it's dark. It's weird. It's kind of effed up, but interesting. After that, Carlos and I finally finished Reset by Brian Andrews. We started listening to this audiobook back in like October, because we were listening to it when we would go to volleyball and back. I gave it a 2 out of 5. It's a sci-fi. It was so slow. Like nothing really happened. Like I was expecting to like be more speed and more just more action, more mystery, more everything, and it was just so slow. The story is about there's this like white orb on Earth that starts controlling people. What is it? How do we get rid of it? Meh, I don't recommend it. The final book for the month of June, I listened to an audiobook. It's called Her One Mistake by Heidi Perks. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought the whole plot was ridiculous. I thought there's Harriet and there's Charlotte. Harriet has a daughter who goes missing at the park, and Charlotte was with her. Like Charlotte was watching the daughter when the daughter went missing, and it's a suspense mystery thriller type book, and I just thought it was so ridiculous. Like, has this woman ever heard of a goddamn women's shelter? Anyway, that's it. That is it for my May and June wrap up. It's probably gone past the 15 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. If you're reading any of the books, let me know. I hope you liked the ones that I liked, and just don't read the ones that I didn't like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.